We are here with the legendary Bernie Kunkel. He's going to give us insight into the recent primary elections that we just had.
So Bernie, can you explain to us why the primary election, especially this one that happened last Tuesday, why it was so important?
It was so important because the people who were running actually made statements that, hey, I've been here 16 years. I've been here so many years. The people really like what I'm doing. I don't even get challenged anymore. And they didn't realize the undercurrent that we were educating people about how government has grown, about some of the legislation that they were pushing. For instance, my state representative at the beginning of this cycle was Sal Santoro. For 4 straight years, he did the Chamber of Commerce bidding and the road contractors and lobbyists, and he pushed the gas tax. Not only would that have increased the gas tax that we pay at the pump, but it would have doubled and tripled all the fees at the county courthouse. And remember, a fee is a tax. They might not call it, a tax, but but it is a tax. So we were going to get hit really hard with that, and we kept coming after some of these people like Sal Santoro. I personally met with him several times, and I'm like, Sal, you are really begging for an opponent. And his answer was, well, I'm down there doing the best I can. And I said, no, you're not representing your constituents, because you don't have constituents clamoring for higher taxes and more regulations and higher fees. So, but he listened to the chamber. He listened specifically to Republican leadership, which is not really true leadership. And they got away. All these people ran on a platform of lower taxes and less government. And they get down there and they did the opposite, so many of them. So we warned him and he didn't listen. So we knocked him out. Marianne Proctor ran a great campaign, knocked out Sal Santoro. Steve Rawlings did the same thing with Ed Massie, who richly deserved the butt kicking. And Adam Kenny. Can you imagine a Republican who called a self-described conservative Republican who says, I'm against the Second Amendment, and then still say he votes against the Second Amendment. He voted no on constitutional carry, the clear language of the Second Amendment. He wanted the Second Amendment to be infringed upon, which our founders explicitly put in the Constitution, because the Bill of Rights is part of the Constitution, and the Second Amendment is the guts of the Constitution. He would just dismiss that, and then have the unmitigated gall to continue running as a conservative. So we took his arrogance on that and several other issues, because a lot of these so-called Republicans have never met a tax they didn't like or wanted to hike, and they've continued to vote that way. So that's why we went after him with such gusto. And thank God our educational efforts over all these years have made a difference in Boone County. Of course, we just had, I think, superior candidates. We had superior activists, superior volunteers, and a superior state of mind. That's why we won. But we really fight for our cause. We really did. And it proved beneficial to the whole area, because now we have put the establishment in Frankfurt on the notice that, hey, we want to go back to the values of the Republican Party. We want to go back to what you guys ran on, and we want to hold you to it. It's easy to elect people who have great rhetoric, but just because they have good rhetoric, when they still implement liberal policies, that rhetoric doesn't mean anything. So we wanted to hold their feet to the fire. And I think we did a pretty good job of holding their feet to the fire. You know, the articles that you read say, oh, nobody saw this coming. We knew it was coming. I've been told you can't win with Rand Paul, and we did. You can't win with Thomas Massie. We did. You can't win with Matt Bevin. We did. You can't win. You know, you can't elect Rick Bergman. You can't elect this state senator, that state representative. I just, you know, I'm not part of the chamber, and the chamber doesn't direct and run our lives like they think, but they do pretty much control the legislators. And I would think now that all legislators would take notice. There are some angry people out there. People are angry about what's going on in the schools, what's going on economically. You know, I really think, you know, that people are starting to pay more attention. I saw so many new people involved this year around the state, and specifically in Boone County, new folks, new moms that were mad about what was going on. And they were the greatest activists. People who walked door to door, like Jill Stahl, like Stacey Earle, and some of these other ones. They did a tremendous job, and that made all the difference. It made all the difference. And the thing about politics is it's all about what have you done for me lately. So you can say, hey, you know, I'm conservative, and people will be like, yeah, he did make a couple of good votes this past session. But what they don't realize is that the people don't remember the past. And if you don't study the past and remember what they've done with their past votes, you know, that's how you know what's going to happen in the future. And I've always said, you study the past, you apply it to the present, and that way you change the future. You have over 70% of the House doing what the people want, passing a bill, and then those 38 members of the Senate don't get a chance to vote on it because 2 or 3 leaders like Stivers, you know, like Damon Thayer, stop it. You know, it's just so wrong. It's maddening that the tyranny of the minority and the majority party can run things in the state. And they're working hand in glove with Governor Beshear, whether they admit it or not. They'll stand up there and snipe at each other. But, you know, as soon as the cameras are off, they hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and they all vote for the same things. So that's what's really infuriating. The more people learn that that's what's going on, the better. And I think, you know, we just keep hammering, you know, that theme over and over again. I mean, they say sunlight is the best disinfectant. Yeah, you got to get those cockroaches out of Frankfurt. You really do.
Okay, so looks like Santoro spent 123,000 compared to Marianne at 16 and some change.
Oh my gosh. She is a true giant slayer. If you could take that little bit of money, that proves right there that, you know, at least on these local elections, district elections, it's all grassroots. It really is.
Well, do you think he underestimated her?
Oh, yeah.
Because don't they look at that? They look at their FEC filings. They're like,
They get it in their head. Hey, I've got $100,000 or more. No one's going to challenge me. I remember it's been 4 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Old Adam Koenig he wore them suspenders. And he has thumbs in his suspenders. No one's got the guts to run against me because he was down there to find. But, you know, if you're that arrogance can, you know, pride cometh before the fall. And Adam Koenig is one of the most arrogant individuals you'll ever run against. And what he sees when he sees $100,000 in his war chest, he's got it in his head, hey, everybody likes to drop on them. No, it's not everybody. It's the Chamber of Commerce, it's the League of Cities, it's the contractors, it's all the people in the sports betting that want Koenig in there. They're the ones writing the big checks.
Look at that one. $152,000.
That's how much he had.
Koenig and Doan had 47,000.
Well, actually, I told all of our candidates they were scared when they started. I can't win. I can't raise money, and I said, you don't need as much. Today, it's a new day today because of the new media. When you have Facebook, when you have Twitter, you have all these venues with the new media out there, social media. And of course, you don't, and there's so much competition for television. When I was growing up, it was just Channel 5, Channel 9, Channel 12. Now there's hundreds of stations. So they could blow all their money. And I watched these people do that. Santoro was on TV the last 2 weeks, like a Netflix program. Every time there's a commercial, there's Sal, the true conservative. Everybody's lying about me. But, instead, it was so stupid. If he couldn't connect with the people, of course, he couldn't explain none of his legislation either.
This one's my favorite.
Dirty Ed Massey.
This one's my favorite.
I'm so glad we knocked him out.
3-1.
He is so arrogant. That man, I can remember 25 years ago going to the Boone County Board of Education and saying, don't raise taxes on us again. And he would smile just like he is right there.
Yeah.
And they'd all vote 5-0 on that school board, 5-0 every time. We're going to raise your taxes because we need quality education. We've got to fully fund education. You know what fully fund education means? Every dollar that ever was or ever will be has got to be sunk into education. And it really isn't. There's something like 4 cents of every tax dollar for education that actually makes it to the classroom. Most of it's in administration. And go to any school district, and it's their district offices that have all the money. But that's a tremendous amount of money that he has. And I hope he spent it all.
Say, and is it that article or the other article that actually tells you how much Ed spent comparative to Steve?
Yeah, it was up here.
What they do is
68
money-
to 34.
that money that they spend, if they have $100 some $1,000, it just turns into expensive landfill material because they send out mailers like every day. And I watch these people send out all those mailers. Just expensive landfill material. Jim Bergerman appreciates the business.
Well, what I noticed about Ed's campaign is when I ran against him, he took my marketing materials and turned them into his.
Yeah.
Remember, true conservative. And then he put it all over his marketing, and everything I said about myself, my campaign, he made it his campaign. He did the same thing to Steve.
Well,
he did the he's with her. I got a mailer from Ed saying he's with her, and it was Hillary, and he lied about Steve.
When I ran against Madam Cooper Koenig in 2006, he put a mailer out, had a picture of me with Ted Kennedy. Bernie Kunkel is the apprentice of Ted Kennedy. And he mailed that kind of crap out. And then he worries about some of the stuff that he actually did with the Ashland Madison account. He actually, is going to sue the people who sent out that independent mailer. He is just unbelievable that they defamed me, they libeled me. No, they told the truth about you.
Can you sue someone if they're telling the truth?
You can sue anybody for anything.
Oh, I see.
But if you got a decent judge that was going to dismiss it out of hand, he went and he hired one of the most expensive lawyers in Lexington to go against, to file a lawsuit against T.J. Roberts. And
I bet he used those campaign funds.
Well, of course he did.
Well, that's where those people's money went, to an attorney.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh, loser.
He really is. And he really deserved to go. So I was glad to have a hand in that. I'm just proud to have worked with Stacey Earle, Jill Stahl, Emily Moe, Cassie Schaubel. We did it. We did it more than anybody. We did it. And I don't understand why today's men are not truly men. It takes the women who are doing it, the activist moms. My grandma Brueggemann always used to say, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. It's very true, because the country is going to go the way of the women. If the women are good and informed and moral, then you're going to have a good country. If they slip down, then you're going to lose it. But there's so few really true men nowadays. And these three turds right there on the screen are not it.
I think it's funny.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it's funny that they didn't put pictures of the winners. They put pictures of the losers up there.
The media can't get over this.
I mean, this is huge. Ed was leading the agenda on education, the tech takeover of education, the Jason Glass Portrait of a Graduate. Ed was leading that, and he gone. They are crying sweet, satisfying rhino tears.
They are. They really are. I mean, and if you look on the legislature homepage, so many of the bills these past couple sessions have been authored by Ed Massey. He's got his hand in everything. Of course, he's an attorney. He knows how to write, stuff up for the chamber, for the education establishment. But, he was so confident that, he had been on the school board for 20 some years before he was elected, or before he got installed as legislator. But he thought that that's really what he should do, is just promote, the educational things. And you can't tell people, I'm not going to allow you to have school choice. And he voted against school choice. And that really fired up a lot of people. They're like, we're not putting up with this. When you got the vote in black and white, and you look, I mean, even Santoro, Koenig, all the other ones, they all voted for school choice. But Ed Massey voted no. He was the only one from Northern Kentucky who actually, out of the Republican caucus, that voted no. So that really hurt him. To show you how arrogant that man is, he was the author of the bill on the University of Louisville to give away taxpayer dollars to the University of Louisville. Claimed to be pro-life, but then actually promoted the training of doctors to perform abortions. They paid the price. I mean, you can't continue to do that. The thing is to have an alert citizenry, educated citizenry is the most important thing that we can do in politics. I think it was President Thomas Jefferson that pointed out, if you are to have a free country, you have to be educated and alert. If you're not, then you're asking for something that never was or never will be. You've got to be educated and alert. The bad thing nowadays, people only believe in what they see on television, and the media is against us. So, the internet has really helped us. There's no doubt about it, but we need more help. We need more people to put some time, talent, and treasure. And we go to people, we say, hey, we have this educational program. Now we are willing to put the time and our talent into it. You're a businessman, you come up with some treasure. It has to be time, talent, and treasure. All three of those are so key, so key.
You have the numbers for the voter turnout.
Well, I will say it's really sad. We did not even get a 14% turnout in Boone County. Statewide was like 19%. But, we expected a very low turnout, even though more people are fired up. It's not a presidential year, so we knew it would be low. And that's why we had to really, that GOTV is so important. Get out the vote. And we did a decent job getting out the vote. And now we have so much of the social media, what they call the new media, that has made a tremendous difference. And people could say, well, there's not that many people that are on the social media. But I will say that in a primary, the people who vote in primaries are more engaged, and they are ones that are watching social media. So, and we still have the Tea Party, and now we've got the Liberty Movement. We got the angry moms. That has been probably the most beneficial thing that we've seen in recent years. The moms are really, engaged all across the state. I mean, basically, that lady who won in Oldham County, Lindsay Tishner, she was one that was furious. She went to school board meetings and stuff, and she's like, you know what? My own ox is getting gored. Now it's time that I fight back. And that is true. When people get kicked in the teeth, they, most of them are not going to accept that. They still have enough of that American spirit that they want to fight back. And I admire those type of people, those moms that have gotten involved, and they're looking at the trashy books in the school libraries. They're looking at the different programs that are being taught in the schools. They're watching how the administration, the school officials, are just trying to take over their children, control their children, not allow the parents to know what's going on in the schools. And a lot of people are like, hey, this is not right. We're not going to stand for it. And I, admire the moms, especially some dads, but I admire the moms especially, who are getting involved and fighting, because that's the way you do it. If you don't get involved, you're going to take a fall. And I'm really proud of, our moms in Northern Kentucky, especially in Boone County. I think we've done a fabulous job. You guys flexed some muscle. You really did. And it showed. And local elections have statewide, national implications. And I'm telling you, we're watching this thing. What happened in Boone County is gone far out of Northern Kentucky. It's gone to other states. People are watching that. Other states are trying to do the same thing we're doing. And we learned, by watching what the other states are doing. So we've got some very, very good. We got a nice group. It's not overwhelming, but it's a nice group of Liberty legislators going to Frankfort. And they're going to stand there and they're going to tell leadership and the chamber and the League of Cities and all the lobbyists, they're going to say, no, we're not going to do that. And that's, our job is to magnify those efforts. We need to make sure that all of our good people write articles that are published in online newsletters and just really drive the agenda. Stop letting the Chamber of Commerce, have the advantage there. I mean, we can do it. I mean, this program right here, this Jill and Stacy show, this is awesome. If we can get this, to go viral, and I think as people get madder and madder, it will. I mean, it's a cumulative thing, what we're doing, educate people. And we have to continue to do that. George Washington pointed all this out in 1796 in his farewell address. He said, beware the spirit of party. He said, it will prove to be the bane or the ruin of the republic. And that's true, because people are like, hey, I followed whatever the Republican Party was. That isn't what good citizens are supposed to do. The Republican Party can screw up a lot worse than the Democrats even sometimes. So I think, the people we just got to work on education. Education should be our total strategy. Truth is our only weapon. We've got to be an army fighting with facts that are better informed, that so we can, we got that way we're better armed if we're better informed. We've got to expose the people at the top. I mean, what is really terrible right now is, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization. That's all they talk about is a global agenda, just like Chamber of Commerce. And what this globalism is going to do is going to just take the United States and just merge it into a third world country, like they're trying to do. The United States only has 4% of the world's population, 4%. And yet we have the greatest nation in the history of mankind, and they're trying to dismantle it. People like this Klaus Schwab, they just are ramming this stuff down our throat. And,
But these are Americans who are enforcing that agenda. That's what blows my mind. Like, aren't you a parent? Aren't you a grandparent? Are you really willing to enslave your children? Like, you're okay with this? That's what blows my mind about.
It's very true. They've done a good job of destroying the family unit. They use all the different pressures to build, make it to where the economy is so bad that you can't survive without both the mom and the dad, working. So they've really hurt the family unit. And now they know, and of course we should know, but they know that they can take over a country by getting control of the education. And in a couple generations, they will have destroyed America. I think you do the best you can with what you have. Yeah, it might be like a situation like with the defenders of the Alamo. We know we're going to get killed, but here, let's fight for our 13 days of glory. And, you just go down swinging. When I have 8 children and 33 grandchildren, I'm not going to give up. I'm always going to push. And the way to do that is to push towards what America is all about, more and more to the right. That center line right now is being pulled to the left towards the liberals because there's not enough people pushing to the right, and that's got to be changed. I mean, if we could eliminate the Kentucky Department of Education, wow, that would be a step in the right direction. Wow, that would just be so wonderful. But, we got to educate enough people, and we got to stop Chamber of Commerce from promoting all this garbage, because right there in the Chamber of Commerce, in their booklet, they say we got to fully fund education. They never explain what the hell they mean by that. I mean, we've given billions of dollars more from budget to budget for education. Have we seen anything better happening with the results? No. But our children are being indoctrinated, and, sad to say, most parents aren't paying attention. Most parents want to send their kids to school for the glorified babysitting services. And these parents don't want this stuff being taught to their kids, but they come home from work, they're tired, they don't want to go to school board meetings, they don't want to look into it.
Chet Hand, that race was the only
that was magnificent. To me, it was the referendum against Judge Gary Moore. I know from so many people who talked to me, or I talked to, so many of, like my brother Bill, different people who went door to door for Chet Hand. One of the questions that kept coming up is who's running against Gary Moore? Mm-hmm. But they knew they were against Gary Moore, and they saw Charlie Kenner being, a cousin of Gary Moore. They saw what he was doing. And even that independent guy, wasn't he Johnson or something?
Yeah, Timothy.
Votes.
He did.
That's amazing.
What did he get? 38%?
He didn't do nothing. So, Charlie Kenner got beat, partly because of his own record of raising taxes, giving us the, dwelling fee in Boone County, garbage like that. But it was more of a referendum against Judge Gary Moore. And I think Gary Moore, if he was wise, of course he's not wise, he's not going to take notice of that because he brags to himself so much. But that to me, that was the key. Chet kept saying, Bernie, you got to get me an endorsement of Northern Kentucky Right to Life or I won't win. And I said, no, it's Northern Kentucky Right to Life is a good endorsement, but it's pocketbook issues that's going to drive this local race. And ultimately, I think that's what happened. It was the pocketbook issues, and people are pissed. I mean, they're seeing their homes, like my house here, $186,000, and all of a sudden they jack it up to $340,000 or whatever. You know, I can't afford to pay all that. 403 from 186. I mean, it's just crooked as hell. And then the Republican fiscal court will say, we've lowered your taxes. No, people are paying more in taxes than they ever have been.
He got over 38%.
That guy didn't do nothing. He signed a paper saying, I am not going to spend no more than, what was it?
3,000.
But those are votes against Gary Moore.
Literally against. I know. That's
that guy. I checked out his Facebook. He's a supporter of Joe Biden. He was a big supporter of Joe Biden in the past.
How fraudulent do you think these numbers are, though, when it comes to absentee ballots and voting?
I don't know. That's hard to say. But Gary did not. Gary Moore was the albatross around Charlie Kenner's neck. And that tickles me.
I mean, just those numbers, man.
It's amazing what we did. What did Chet end up with? What percentage?
62.8.
See, Kenner been there 20 years probably. And that's what people think of him. But more, it was driven by people against Judge Gary Moore. That's what brought Kenner down. And I'm glad to see him go.